Welcome to the Amazing Truth Podcast, a podcast where we focus on real issues and have real talk, and as always, provide a biblical perspective. We hope that you will be blessed as you listen.
Hello and welcome to the Amazing Truth Podcast. This is the Amazing Truth Minute.
This is the Amazing Truth Podcast. The Amazing Truth Podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Stitcher. Like us on Facebook at the Amazing Truth Podcast. The Amazing Truth Podcast. Real issues, real talk.
For the Amazing Truth Minute, today we'll focus on 2 Corinthians chapter 9, verse 8. And it says, "And God is able to make all grace abound toward you, that you, always having all sufficiency in all things, may have an abundance for every good work." You see, human wisdom conveys the idea that if we want to be wealthy, we must hoard the resources we possess and not give anything to others. But the Bible teaches an alternative way of thinking. People of faith are to trust God to provide for our every need. Faith and greed cannot coexist. Christ followers give freely to meet the needs of others because we serve a God who is enthusiastically meets the needs of his people. It's a cycle of sorts. God blesses us so that we can be a blessing. The Apostle Paul assured the Corinthian church that God would abundantly bless them and provide everything they needed to give generously to every good work. There isn't a single instance in the scripture where God failed to provide for his people. If God calls us to a task or prompts us to give, he will provide everything we need to obey him. The children of God have every reason to be the most generous people on the planet. And that is the Amazing Truth Minute.
This is the Amazing Truth Podcast. The Amazing Truth Podcast. Listen to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and Stitcher. Like us on Facebook at the Amazing Truth Podcast. The Amazing Truth Podcast. Real issues, real talk.
2022. Kellan, Happy New Year,
Happy
man.
New Year, my brother. Happy New Year.
When old is like it's the end of January. You can say
Happy New Year.
You know, it's exciting to be back. Welcome back, our viewers, our listeners, our friends, frenemies, if we do have, whatever it is.
Sharers.
Sharers, exactly.
Yeah.
We are excited to, man, I missed this.
Man, I missed you.
I also missed you, man.
I missed you, man.
A little bit, but it's all good.
I'm good to have you here
Good
again.
to have you back. I'm so excited to be back in 2022. But I know you see with videos now, people can see our guests, but we don't have a secret review right there.
We'll pixel later.
Exactly. But before we go to the guests, I think let's take a moment to recap. Know how we finished last year. It was we had a series.
Yeah.
What was the series about?
Oh, Ezra, you're.
Who else
Sexuality.
Sexuality. I know that's a big word.
That's why I had to think.
Sexuality.
What's funny with that, Ezra, is we had that session or that series. We had planned for it beginning of 2021.
Yep.
We came to do it when.
Because it was a tough one.
That was a tough one.
But it was very informative. And actually, we're not even done, listeners. One of the reasons why we took a break is because there was a lot of questions, a lot of follow-ups, a lot of people who really needed to connect. And sometimes it's not all about releasing content. It's also like really after that content, what are you going to do with it?
Right.
Is it just a good story to tell? So we want to shout out to all those people who reached out. We want to shout out to all those people who courageously, said, man, I needed to hear that. The silent listeners. And I think, Ezra, it's important to say it's not about content. It's not about
It's about meeting the needs of the people that listen to you. And this break we took was to meet the needs of the people that are listening to us.
And even us to digest, it was heavy content.
It was.
But I also say that we're not done yet. We have one more session with Dr. Karen. We'll be back as we wind up on that series. And also, we just introduce you to the powerhouse. 2022, it's this stuff I like.
I like that powerhouse.
The powerhouse.
I like that.
So you think great minds think alike.
Exactly.
However, it's never about who.
It's never about us.
As much as we try to force it. Today, we are blessed with a wonderful lady in the studio here. Yeah. Tell us your name. Tell us who you are, where you... Or Kenan, you have a way you want to introduce her?
No, I think let her
Let her take the thunder, right?
Yeah,
all right. So tell us your name. Tell us just your name, what you do, and then the entire podcast about you.
Yep.
So just tell us your name, what you do, and what you're looking forward to, and then we'll pick it up from there.
All right. Good evening, good morning, whatever you're listening to from. This is Huldah Momanyi, Hiltsley. It's truly a privilege to be here with my brothers.
Yes.
It's two amazing young men who are doing some incredible work in the community, and it's a privilege to say that I've known you guys for a couple of years now. So I'm not new to this awesome group here. But yes, I am currently the president of Momanyi, the biggest organized Kenyan group in the Midwest, and I dare say in the United States. And then also professionally, I'm in data privacy, data protection, so the legal side of things. When you guys hopefully do a career podcast where you bring amazing people to talk about the great things and motivate our young people about looking at different career opportunities. Data privacy should be a part of that. There's a lot of money to be made in that field. But what really drives me is the community work that I do. I do have a project initiative in Kenya because, that's my heart is also there. Those are my roots. And I'm a mother, I'm a wife, and I'm a sister, and I'm a friend. So I'm excited to really engage with you guys and just be, authentic in my story and hopefully encourage somebody. This amazing truth, podcast is truly amazing in the sense that you guys are making an impact, and personally I have been impacted positively because of this podcast. So it's a privilege to be here. I'm excited because you guys are always just a good time. So let's just have a good time and hopefully, touch one or two people in the process.
That's true. That's true. Welcome. Appreciate it. That was a very nice introduction, Kenan.
You can tell she's eloquent.
I know. We're going to catch up with you slowly. But we're excited to have you, Huldah, here. It's as you said, we've known each other for a while, and some of us wonder where you left us as you were ascending under
you forgot us in your kingdom.
But we're glad.
It's okay. You came down to meet us.
We're glad that you still remembered us, but we do appreciate. Thank you for the amazing job. Let's begin from that perspective. First of all, just acknowledging, celebrating, the amazing work that you're doing in the community. We do feel it, we do know it, we do see it, and we're grateful for that. And that's why we're here today, Kenan. There's somebody who's saying, by the way, how do I ever get there? What was the journey? You're a lady, a woman of color, who came here when you're young. So that has not been easy. What inspired you to go into these quote unquote uncharted territories, especially in a minority group where women, all those kind of things, stereotypes and stigma. So excited about it. Kenan, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to hear her story because I'm raising a little girl.
Okay.
Who's African American, who's black, however you want to call it. So I want to hear how I can impact her to be as brave, as eloquent, and as to be a leader, and nurture, even if it's not leadership, nurture her personality, whatever it is. That's what I'm looking forward to.
All right.
Exciting.
Let's jump into it. So let's begin on this note. Let's begin. We're going to talk about leadership. We're going to talk about how do we, grow in our world of becoming leaders in our world. So I'm going to start on this note. What is your favorite quote on leadership? All of us.
Maybe Google.
Favorite quote on leadership. We're going to start with that. I think, this is why video is better.
I know, video is not better.
You can't even pretend.
Right.
You have to.
What is your favorite quote on leadership you've ever heard? Let's take a second. I know we don't have to keep quiet, but think a second.
No, mine is not a quote. Actually, it's what my dad used to tell us.
Okay.
When you're growing up, every end of term, you sit down in a baraza in the house. Everybody brings their report cards, right? And that is always a hot session. So my dad always used to say, get your education, and nobody can take that away from you. Period. And that's gotten me through a lot. So.
I still hear that from my dad every single day.
right?
Even after, getting 3 degrees, a master's, a couple of certificates, he's still
when they're
get your education.
right,
I'm like, how far do you want me to go?
And it's funny when they say it, you don't really see sense in it.
Yes.
But over the years, you're like, okay,
As you grow older.
As you grow older, yeah.
As you have your own family, you're like, maybe
that's
he
what I
had a
tell my
point.
kids now. But yeah, that's my little quote. So, yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
For me, I would say, especially now being in this space of leadership, I would say serving people and meeting them where they are. I think for me, that is what leadership is. That is the embodiment of, if you call yourself a leader, serving those people that are being entrusted to you.
Yeah. And we use that in social work too, meet people where they are. So I like that.
I'm seated with my learned, educated people. Quality big things.
What's
for me, I've had so many definitions on leadership, but there's one that always comes back to my head, and it says leadership is character development. See, there's so many leaders, but you look at their character, their morality, their values. So what I've learned is that even quietly, when your character is right, you naturally lead people.
Right.
You don't have to have a position. You don't have to have a title. You don't have to have these. You go to an African home and say, be like so-and-so's kids. Those kids are leaders already. They don't even know that. You know why? Maybe because they're in school. Right. Maybe it's because they're doing what they need to do. And so I now that I look back, I realize that anyone who has a good character and moral values, people always point their kids to them, about them and all that. So that to me has stuck with me. That I'm not saying I have good moral character, but I'm saying
I think you do. I think you do.
So that is to me. So having said that, it is good to jog our brains, in all that. So I want to come back here and say, so Huldah, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where were you born here? If not, when did you relocate? How was that journey? How's that experience been? And then we'll go from there.
Yes. So I was born in Kenya, and I came to the United States when I was 9.
Okay.
So to Minnesota. And I always joke with my dad. I'm like, Dad, you had 50 states and a couple of territories. All of those, right? But then you chose the coldest state in the United States. So
oh man, that's a good one.
So coming here at 9, you have this perception of what America is from what people have told you. And then you come here, it's completely a different experience. And growing up in an African home, a Kenyan home, a Kisii home, let's note that. It was all about, achieving. And I remember my parents, working so hard to make sure that they would provide us with everything that they could. And now that I'm older and have my own family, I look back and I was like, there's a lot of things we missed out on, but there's also a lot of lessons we learned. We learned from my upbringing. So yes, so we moved here. My dad came here in the 1980s. To Texas, and then he left Texas and came to Minnesota. And then we joined him a couple of years later. It was tough growing up because you would go to school and you would see a completely different lifestyle. Your friend is telling you they got the newest outfit, the newest, and then you go tell your mom, and your mom is looking at you like, hey?
So your parents brought that.
Go back. Come back into this house. So I learned to be content with what we had. And I learned at a very young age that even though, we didn't have everything that my friends had, we had the basics. And we had that moral compass in the sense that as an African home, it was all about goals. You're going to be this, you're going to be that. And that really drove me to really just strive to be the best that I could, right? And also seeing my parents work so hard, struggle, and our family story about the immigration case that we had for over 11 years, right? It even made the news and everything. So it was a big deal. And going through that whole journey, and really when we finally won, because my parents were our family was 48 hours away from being deported.
Oh, wow.
You know, yes, that's how close we were. And after we won that, that's when it clicked in my mind that this is a privilege to be here. Because this whole time we were, you know, very cautious about where we went, who we talked to, what we talked about. But now all of that, all of those walls were now, you know, they were shattered.
Right.
They were gone.
Yeah.
Now, I didn't have any chains. I didn't have any shackles. I didn't have anything to hold me back. And what my dad did was basically when we got our green cards, he did something that I'll never forget. He took that green card and put it between two slices of bread. Now, you come home and you find your dad cooking. so we had sandwiches that day. I was like, something is wrong here. But he wanted to make a statement. He took that and he put it between two pieces of bread. And when we took a bite, we were like, hey, Kitu, there's something in here. Yeah. And when we pulled it out, it was our green card. And my dad said this to us, and I will never forget, this is my legacy to you. This is how you will feed yourself. This is how you will build your life. I don't have any money to give you. I don't have any wealth to pass down to you. This is it right here. And from that day on, it was like a sprint to be the best, to succeed, that hunger of succession, you know, it literally was like a flame that was lit underneath me, because then I realized I can be anything. You hear it at school, somebody tells you, but now it was like, I actually have an opportunity to be anything that I want. And then from there, my dad created opportunities for us. And you can look at my family and you could say some of us took that and really ran with it, and some of us paved our, you know, our own path. But for me, he kept on reminding me, my kids, whatever you want to do, it doesn't matter if you're a woman or a man, a girl, a boy, you have what it takes.
Wow.
And to hear that from a father, I think that really, really made a huge impact in my life as a woman, as a young girl growing up, knowing that I had the support of my father. I mean, I had conversations with my dad, with my mom, but the conversations I had with my dad, the conversations that I continue to have with my dad really impacted in me really stepping out into my purpose in life and into being a leader in my own right. You know, so yeah, it was great.
So how was it living in that, the uncertainty of, you know, I mean, you were a kid then probably, but how was that? How did your family kind of maneuver through that? You don't have to tell us the details of that, but how was it living in that with an uncertain future?
Yeah,
and also I can add this so that you can answer this together. At what stage in your life is this? How old are you when you're going through all this, and how does that impact your livelihood? As a young person at that stage of life.
Yeah, so I would probably say young teen.
Okay,
you know, going into my mid-teens, and I always try to think back, like, where was my mindset during that time, and luckily enough, I was young enough not to fully understand and grasp the magnitude of the situation, of what my dad was trying to establish. But also, I was at that age where, you know, I understood that if we don't get this, I might go back to Kenya. And what does that look like? I couldn't really fully understand. It was a few years later, once I got a little bit older, once I started having conversations with family members who didn't have documentation, who were going through a difficult time, who were, you know, going to school as international students, that's when I realized that's what my dad was fighting for. So I didn't have to go through that. So I didn't have to worry about, you know, going to school as an international student, getting a job, working, you know, just really not having to worry about opportunities, doors being closed because I didn't have the right documentation. So once I got to high school and once I got to, you know, graduating from high school, I fully understood what my dad had fought for 11 long years.
11 years. Now, what gave you that realization now? Now, was it you going to school, the opportunity that you could have or that you didn't have? What really opened that Pandora box for you? Like, okay, this is big.
Yeah, it was me applying for schools. Okay. It was me applying for jobs and being able to produce a social security that didn't have not authorized to work.
Yeah.
You know, it was me going out there and talking to people and not being afraid of how I was speaking, because we were growing up during that time. We were told, you know, when you get stopped or when somebody talks about your migration status, you know, don't make a comment, don't say anything. You know, it was me realizing that, you know, being documented and having, you know, your permanent residence, your citizenship, you know, you name it, opened doors that some of them didn't even exist.
Right.
You know, because a lot of our people, still to this day, we continue to struggle in this country as undocumented. And somehow, some way, you know, being resilient as we have been, it's still impacts our community in the sense that, you know, we live in fear of tomorrow. You know, we have families who have kids back home, who have significance back home, who cannot go back home. You know what I'm saying? So realizing that we were able to do all of these things where my auntie couldn't do it, my uncle couldn't do it, my cousin couldn't do it, where even to this day, I have cousins who are still, like, mind you now, they came the same time we came, but they are still going through all of this stuff.
There are a lot of untold stories. There are a lot of unspoken. There's people who were basically suffering in the shadows, and we, you know, we are praying for you. You know, there's a lot of changes that have come, but I know there's people who still are living in the shadows. There are people who have had family members pass away, but they cannot go pay their last respect. So there's a lot of untolds, and we're thinking of them.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And I think this is a good moment for us to just pause for a second and just say, you know, what would you tell someone right now who's listening? You know, someone who's going through a moment where they're living out of anxiety and fear, the knock in the door, they wonder who's that knocking at the door, the lights that go for the police, they wonder, is that me? What would you tell somebody, because you've been in those shoes before? Just a message of hope, a message of comfort, a message of encouragement, something short, and then we transition as we build on this conversation.
Absolutely. I would say keep the faith. Keep the faith. It's a difficult journey, and depending on where you are in the journey, where you are in the process, you know, creates a certain level of anxiety. I want to let you know that you're not alone, and that it is possible, and if it's God's will, it will happen. Somebody once told me this. You know, I told him about, you know, my journey and everything, the immigration story, and they were like, well, you know, if it didn't work out and you ended up in Kenya, God was going to provide a way. You were still going to fulfill your purpose. You know, so I want to encourage you, even sometimes when it seems like, you know, this is the end of the line. We had 48 hours. My brothers, hey, you're sitting there and you're waiting for 48 hours, not knowing what the future holds. And God always opens doors when you last expected. But what I want to encourage you, keep pushing, keep fighting, don't give up. Because when you are at that breaking point, that's when God shows up. That's when God shows up, and He showed up for our family.
Ezra, before we segue to the other section, I want to say too that you know, even though you are undocumented, you can still access healthcare. There's many ways you can access healthcare, mental health, you know, primary care. There's insurance that, you know, can cater for you. So reach out to us. Reach out to us, and we'll help you navigate whatever hurdle you need to engage. So don't suffer mental health, you know, primary care. You can still access healthcare even.
And for the young people,
that's a great point. Especially when you get to as an organization, there's basic services. There's human needs, basic human needs that has nothing to do with your status. So yes, don't be afraid to reach out. Reach out to these brothers. Reach out to me, and we will find the resources, the best that we can, obviously, within our scope of work that we do to support. So yes, please don't be afraid to reach out.
I want to add one more there. Even education, I recently learned that you can get financial aid actually if you have DACA and stuff like that. And So I have to go back and check. It's been a year or so. But no need for you as a young person to say, I can go to school.
Yeah.
How do you leverage those opportunities? Keep fighting, keep pushing. It's not the end of the story.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Look at.
I mean,
it's not the end of the story. So.
And I won't miss this point to say that there are those of us who are privileged and they came here privilegedly, but we're living recklessly also. You know, it's like you're not realizing the pain that somebody else is going through. And you're making certain choices and decisions that you don't realize in this country. One mistake, they can revoke even your green card, your citizenship and all those kind of things.
Even your citizenship.
Exactly.
Yes.
So we have to come back to set up a time where we can really talk about that topic and, help our people, understand. So this is your childhood. Now, me in my childhood, I was getting spanked for not carrying water or this and that. But you are here fighting for your status, your belonging, and this is just documentation. What does this do to your emotional identity? You're already black, you're already minority in school. Do you fit in? How do you carry yourself in high school as you're going through that phase of fitting in? Did this affect you at all?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Back then, even to today, it's still somewhat of a taboo to talk about, how you're feeling. Till you go to your mom and dad and, Dad, Mom, can we sit down and talk about my feelings? Feelings? What feelings? Did you go to school? Did you do your homework, your chores? Did you do this? That's all the feelings that they wanted to hear about. So that is one of the things that I just wish we had growing up, where it was intentional to talk about how you felt and what was going on, because a lot of us, kids, we suffered in silence. You go to school and all day you're cold this, you're cold that. You come home and you tell your mom, today I had to eat in the bathroom because I was being bullied. And they're like, so go back. and I'm going to be honest, we're here, Amazing Truths, right? We want to be honest. We want to be, there's a couple of, days where I would eat lunch in the bathroom because, I was bullied because of, how dark I was and my accent and the clothes that I was wearing. Whew, my mom, I love that woman. We would go to Goodwill. And I'm telling this story because it keeps me humble. Mm-hmm. It reminds me of where I've come from. My humble beginnings. My mom would go to Goodwill and she would shop for us, all of us. And for me, as a young, girl, she would put me in flower dresses with, remember those pads? Her hair, those ones. And she thought I was the cutest. She was just dressing her daughter. Woo! And then she would put those tiny little bows on my head. Hey, I went to school.
Swag.
Now I can laugh about it. I was the center of attention for bullies. Hey, it took me a while to get to a place where I started appreciating who I was. I started appreciating, because you get bullied so much to the point where you start questioning who you are. You start questioning your identity. You start questioning, why do we even come to America if this is how I'm going to be treated? You start questioning your culture. Like, I don't like this culture. I wish I was born to a different culture. So it took me through elementary school into high school, actually sophomore year of high school, all the way to the point where I finally, I think it was a moment where it finally clicked in my mind that I was special, I was capable, I was beautiful, I was all of these things. And being this as dark as I am, hey, this melanin, now we are celebrating, now it's becoming a trend.
I know. Everybody wants to post it.
Everybody wants to. Yeah. But living during that time, I didn't want to be this dark. I didn't want my hair to be as tough as it is. Right now, I love my natural hair. Hey, I pride my natural self. But it took me a long time to get to a place where I started loving myself. And that was sophomore year of high school. And mind you now, I was doing some incredible things. I mean, I was running varsity at 7th grade, North High School. I was still in middle school, but going to North High School running for them.
Wow.
Then moving to Brooklyn Center, started going to Cooper High School. Like, I was an elite, like, sports, you name it. I got to the point where I either was going to go down this path of self-destruction or I had to make a choice to start loving myself. And once I made that choice, I found things that I was good at and I just poured all of my energy into it. That was sports and that was church. That was, community, right? And that allowed me to continue to build on myself and work on myself. Because sometimes when we say, oh, you have to love yourself first before, but it's so true. When you love yourself first and when you allow yourself to acknowledge all of this pain and hurt over the years or whatever amount of time, that's when the real healing starts to happen. Wow. And once that happened, oh man, people can come up to me and tell me, you are this, you are that. And I'd be like, oh, okay, but look what I'm achieving. What are you achieving? That gave me strength to really continue to excel in the things that I was good at. And that allowed then for me to say, it's okay that I'm Black. It's okay that I'm Kenyan. It's okay to be kissy. I started embracing, because growing up in my household, my mom beat us.
No. That we might sound like it was abusing. Discipline.
It was discipline. Back then.
But I know what you're saying.
Back then, that's how you felt.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
But I look back now and I'm like, I'm so thankful for that discipline.
Yeah.
Because I learned kisi, at that young age, to this day, kisi, yote, I can speak the whole entire kisi,
nice.
Right? I learned the values of being a Kenyan, a kisi, and a woman. And so that has really played a part in me growing up and finding my identity, first of all, in Christ, and then secondly, in who I really want to be and the person that I'm becoming.
Yeah. Wow.
Man, Kenan. But she says she found herself a sophomore here. Where were we at sophomore year?
I was still being bullied back in Kenya.
I think these men bloom a little bit later. It's true. Yeah. This concept is true. Found myself the other day.
I'm still finding myself.
But we joke, we laugh about
Absolutely.
this. But I hear a couple of things. I hear, a journey of self-discovery. A journey to finding yourself. I hear the role your parents played, both your mother and your father, in finding your purpose, but also shaping how you're going to live that purpose in life. Your mom, the role she plays there.
However unorthodox way they might have, but it was still
impacting. And it just goes on to show that even with the weakness, with the flaws of parenting, when it comes from a good heart, somehow we might have these flaws here, there, but overall, we have a strong foundation.
Absolutely.
That really shapes us.
When my mom would not discipline us, let me use the word discipline, my dad would. And I remember growing up when he would discipline us, he would sit us down afterwards and explain to us why he was doing it. Now imagine you just got disciplined and somebody's telling you they love you.
I love you. That was the worst speech ever. They could have.
The anger. But you know what? As an adult now, it makes a lot of sense. And it impacted me in a way that now I appreciate.
Yeah.
Even now that I have a daughter and when I'm disciplining her, that is ringing in my head. Like, how do I explain to her why I'm doing what I'm doing and for what purpose? Yeah. I mean, she's only 3,
right.
but that is something that I definitely, that's a lesson learned.
Yeah.
From that.
A caveat, someone told me that, someone said, I think it was someone I heard somewhere, that before you discipline your child, sit down with them and pray first. Yeah.
That's another layer.
You sit down and pray.
Now.
And pray and then tell them why you're doing it and then do it.
Pray.
Yes.
Do they know that it's coming?
But by the time you do it, you get the
I think the principle is don't do it out of anger.
Out of anger. That
Yes.
exactly.
Don't do it out of anger. Do it out of love. And how do you get to that space in that place? Wow. So we're growing. I remember Huldah playing basketball. You know,
Yeah.
we were growing together around that stage.
Where were Israel? Please. You were just a spectator.
I was there. You know, I was there. But I'm here today, right? So
Wow.
so you now get to a place you've loved yourself, you've appreciated yourself. I think it's a good place for us to slide in and say, you know, young people, don't be fooled with the filter on Instagram, the likes that you have, the photos that come in, the followers that you have. Just love yourself for who you are. You know, you might not fully comprehend, fully understand, but I saw an article of a young lady who just either committed suicide or was on the verge of, because she wasn't getting the followers, or she had a video that went live. So today, social media is taking this thing of identity crisis to the next level to this generation. So,
Yeah. I mean, and again, if you're going through it, you know, whoever is doing it to you, they're the ones lacking something.
Yep.
They try to point that to you or your skin, your this, your clothes, but they're the ones actually lacking something. So they're probably on the quest of finding themselves. They're just
projecting it on you.
And they're using the wrong means to do it. So if you're going through it, again, there's resources. I'm all about resources.
You're all about resources.
There's
I was gonna say love covers a multitude of all things.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
seek to love, but also love doesn't mean you place yourself in place of hurt and you know all that. So moving on so swiftly, sophomore, now you get to college. Right. So
where did you go? Where did you go?
Where do you go to college? Give us that transition, how that journey is.
Yeah.
And leadership. In this phase, where is leadership? Where is leadership in your life?
Yes. So in college, in high school, I was one of the captains. I participated in a lot of community engagement, school activities, school groups, because I thought if I can accumulate all of this stuff, you know, achieve, right? I could get into a good university, I could get into a top school, you name it. And I did all that. I climbed that ladder in high school. But then when it was time for me to make the transition from high school to college, that was a challenge in the sense that, and this is a lesson learned that I carried on into my college experience, because I didn't go directly to a 4-year college. Okay. I didn't go directly into, you know, this amazing college experience that we all of us, you know, strive for, especially in the American culture, right? Freshman year, all of that. I didn't have that. And I look back and it's because those opportunities were not presented in a manner where they were palatable to me. And this is what I mean by that. I had a coach, for example. I was great at track, right? I could have gotten a 4-year scholarship to a track program D1, you name it. But unfortunately, that opportunity was not presented to me in the sense that I was not put out there like the other students were put out there. I didn't go to and visit colleges. Those opportunities were not there. Nowadays, you know, we have programs where we take, you know, 11th grade, from 11th, 10th grade to colleges, they see how that whole, you know, space is experienced. They have an opportunity to kind of mentally see and picture what that might look like. I didn't have that. And then to add to that, I had parents who were on survival mode, right? So I remember my parents working so hard to provide for us. You know, they only showed up to school because it was parent-teacher conference. That was the only time they showed up. And I look back, I can't fault them because they were trying to do the best that they could to provide for us in a country that they too were still trying to figure out. Right? And so us having those opportunities to explore colleges and learn about what is available was never there for me. I had to discover that on my own. The high school counselor, they were useless, let's be honest, back then, you know, catering to minority students, you know. And so for me, instead of going to this 4-year college track and getting in there and continuing, I had to take a detour.
Okay.
I had to take a detour, and not saying this is a bad thing, because community colleges also, they serve a great purpose.
Yeah.
That's another discussion. Now that I have, learned and been in that space and had that experience. So I went to a community college, Minneapolis, MCTC. Mm-hmm. And again, what am I studying? Just guess.
Nursing.
So I go in there, and I'm going into nursing because that's what I've been told. Mm-hmm. Was it my passion? Absolutely not. I quit a job because I was told to wear scrubs. That's not what that was not my passion.
Right.
So I'm sitting here, going through the prerequisites, and I did anatomy and physiology. Again, a turning point in my life. That class. At what? The fact that I got a C in that class, it was only by the grace of God.
I'm with you on that. That's not a human being class to take.
But it's anatomy. Do you see the irony in your sentence?
But you fail learning about the body, your human body.
And I see why they put it as a prerequisite, because it cleans up, it filters those people.
I know, man. Hey, shout out to nurses.
Shout out to nurses. We love you. We appreciate you. You guys are awesome. We need you. And thank you for allowing me to pursue something else. And then I started thinking about, what am I good at? Nobody has ever sat me down and asked me, what are you good at? What are you passionate about?
That's powerful.
And so that's when I started talking to just a couple of my friends whose parents were in certain circles, right? Whose brothers or sisters were in all of these different fields that I never even thought about. And that exposure really opened my eyes to there's more opportunities than just nursing. Mm-hmm. Again, we appreciate our nurses. If that's your calling, we need you.
Yeah, for sure.
Please, absolutely. And so from there, a friend of mine was like, well, have you looked at Bethel University? Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's a private university. I don't come from a wealthy family. Mm-hmm. Nah, that's probably not an option. But they kept on egging me. I went there and visited it, and it was a done deal. Mm-hmm. I went there, and from there on, I literally the doors were open. The opportunities were limitless in terms of what I could do, and they had a really great support system. The multicultural office, they had a multicultural office that really shaped my experience in terms of really exploring what I was good at, what I was passionate about, and then they got me involved. By the time I was on with Bethel, I was leading that office, as a student leader, of course. And so from there, I was like, wait a second. I have this opportunity to do all of this.
Sorry to cut you.
Absolutely.
So did you switch from nursing, or did you finish nursing?
Oh no, I didn't. And after that class, it was
okay. So what did you finish from Bethel?
So from Bethel, I realized that I could maximize on it. Okay. So at Bethel, I started international business, international relations, and reconciliation studies. I got 3 bachelor degrees from this university because I was like, look, I'm paying all of this money, and those are loans.
Typical African.
Typical
buy one, get one free, right?
Yes. And so I was like, you know what? My parents have worked hard for me to be here, and I'm taking loans.
Yes.
So I might as well just maximize on these loans. Yeah. And so I did those 3 undergrad degrees, and then I went back and I did my master's in international business with global business emphasis. And once I was done with that, I, got right into corporate America, and that's when I started my career.
Okay. So, question though, going back to school.
Yes.
So, you said your leadership and those attributes kind of came to life when you went to Bethel.
Yes.
So, is it important for someone to choose a school that nurtures whatever they think they're good at?
Absolutely.
As the school specifically.
When it comes to that, I think we're in a good place now where, we have programs that cater to that starting at a young age, you know. So you're not waiting until you get to college, because as a community of color, minority community, we don't have the luxury of we have a school savings, you know, fund, right, account, or money that is just waiting there. So we don't have the luxury of, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to test this out, test that out. That's not there. so we
whatever you choose,
you better stick with it. And so I look back now and I'm like, we are fortunate to have opportunities for our kids where there's programs that caters to really helping our young, you know, kids to start exploring what they're passionate about, to build on that. So by the time you're in high school, you're continuing to build into, you know, that passion. And by the time you get to college, you are somewhat have a good idea of what you want to do. And choosing a school is important in the sense that you want to choose a school that caters to your passion, number one, that caters to your academic goals, and lastly, caters to you as an individual. Because you can go to a school where they have great academics, but you as a minority student, if they don't have services that caters to you, that helps you address whatever challenges you have, you will have a hard time achieving those academic goals that you have. So when I have, you know, parents or students who are coming up to me asking me, so what do you think about this school? What do you think about that school? You know, the first thing that I think of is like, okay, number one, what do you want to do? What do you want to do after college? What is your passion? You know, then when we start having that conversation, then it's like, that's cool. Does it cater to you as a person holistically, not just this one particular area? And then go and explore. Go and do that dorm life for a minute and go from there. And then also I want to talk about trade school. A lot of our African parents, it's all about this four-year degree, which is good. But God wired us differently. We have to acknowledge that. And I feel like we are slowly coming to acknowledge that. There's trade schools, you know, that our kids can also explore from high school into college.
So trade school is like technical colleges?
So hands-on.
Okay.
Hands-on, absolutely.
Hennepin Tech, you know, those kind of schools, Dakota Tech.
Okay.
So hands-on electric work, plumbing,
tile, all of that stuff. And some of these people make good money. A good example is my brother, Mishak. He, you know, the 4-year was not his thing. He didn't graduate. He went to college, had a great time. We all did, right?
Yeah, of course. You know,
but then
piece of life.
Passage of life, right? But the 4-year thing was not his thing. So he ended up going to, you know, his passion. He loves working with hands. He ended up doing, you know, tiling, you know, and he has his own business. He makes good money from tiling, you know. So we definitely don't want to limit opportunities to our youths.
Yep, I think we need to have a session. We come back talk about that, because I've just been laughing through this story, because, you know, where Kenan and I spoke how he ended up in his career.
If I tell you my story,
if you tell your story, you will just die, right? You know, I did a full 4-year degree in biology. You ask me where I'm using it, I have no clue. I have no idea, right? So, and I had 2 years between my college and my graduate school where I didn't know what I was doing with my life. And those are student loans that I'm taking, that I'm paying for now, and all those things. So, I'm not regretting, because at least your quote of education, we got
nobody will take it away from
Nobody will take it away from me.
You still have it.
But it can be expensive if we don't have those guidance and all those things. So young people, please find your goal, find your purpose. You can be the other person next to you. You yourself, be you, but being you means be smart. Follow your path, follow your career and stuff.
Ask questions. Reach out to people who are where you think you want to be, or you're sure you want to be. Reach out, because what I really... there's a resource within our community that we have not really reached out to and really explored, and that is the professional careers.
Yep.
We have so many professionals who are in great companies, who are in great roles, and we don't have a channel where we create that connection between our young people and those professionals. Yeah. Every chance I get, I always try to convince a young person, come to data privacy. You know,
I do that too.
At least come and just see and see if that's something that might spark your interest.
Yeah.
Because if you look at these other communities, the Asian immigrant communities, the Indian immigrant communities, the white community, what do? They provide opportunities for their children to see what's possible by providing internship opportunities, by providing mentorship opportunities. Yes, I know that we've tried, but I think we can do better.
Yep. See, this is what happens when you bring a leader.
Yeah, and
it becomes a session we are teaching.
And it is, I think we did a career panel.
Yeah.
You can watch it and listen to it. And I mean, that's something Ezra is passionate about too. That we need to.
I don't know if I'm passionate because I'm passionate or because
you're paying school loans,
but I'm passionate.
That's a good question.
That's true, though.
But
you know, let's take this moment to slide this in and say there are two loans that you will never run away from in this country: your mortgage,
yes,
and your student loans.
Yes.
They can forgive everything,
but not those two.
those two.
So when you're making your choice, when you're pushing your child to go to school, when you're thinking about, you know, starting your career, you get your first job out of college, you have it's paying you 60,000, let's say. They take taxes, you're coming home with 50. Student loans takes like probably 10, you know. Before you know it, you don't even have enough money to actually live, and your student loan is worth 100 and whatever, 200. Why? Because you chose to go out of state. And going out of state, you are paying out of state tuition, and you're getting the same degree that you can have gotten in state. See that? I'm talking about myself.
Don't cry.
I went to
it's not your session. It's not your session.
Anyways, but that's a good point.
It is a very good point.
Point. So, or you go to a private university because you think of that prestige.
Exactly.
I'm telling you, don't get me wrong. I don't regret going to Bethel because it really provided life lessons.
Yes.
That now I will use to advise my daughter. I will use to advise the young people who might come and ask for advice. You know, if you don't have to go to a private university, don't go to a private university. If you can afford it, absolutely, go for it. But I could have cut my loans in half.
Yep.
If I could have gone to the University of Minnesota.
I am looking at our big brother Biden.
Please.
Consider us.
Biden.
Consider
I know you guys have been toying about forgiving those loans.
But it's good to open people up to very different careers so they don't choose something that they wouldn't even use. So
And I think we'll have to do multiple sessions on these. 4 points, I think, take away for this part. We come back to Huldah. Remember,
we're about 8 minutes.
8 minutes. So let me say this. For anyone in high school, number one, make sure you get extracurricular activities. If I got from you, participate in as many activities as you can. At least get a 3.2, 3.0 and above GPA. That will get you some money already in there. Number 3, ACTs. Please. If the higher the ACT, the higher the likelihood for schools to come for you. And if they're coming for you, they're also giving you something to offer along those lines. So I will say this, African parents, ACT coaching can cost up to $3,000, but it might save you an entire tuition for the 4 years. So consider investing in that. Number 4, mentor, find somebody to mentor, volunteer in many places so that you can be able to know. You don't want to go to school and jumping from one career to another. That's time, that's money that you're taking in there. But we'll come back and dive deeper into that. So Huldah,
you're
finally in college, you finally graduated with 3 degrees.
The leadership,
so leadership. So I think the second part we're going to start talking about now. Huldah, when you say Huldah is known as a leader. I talk about leadership, There's someone who's wondering how you got into that. What were the first roles? So if you can think about those leadership opportunities from a young child to a point where you are, because I know you are aspiring, and we'll finish on that. Huldah is aspiring too. But before then, I think we can do a closing remark for these. Kenan,
I'll do my final thoughts, and then Ezra, you'll do yours.
I'll do mine, and then Huldah will finish for us.
So for me, I think what I've gotten from this episode is the sense of achieving. I mean, your parents started that at a very young age. Well, that's who they've been. So even though they teach you achieve, although they didn't explain these things to us, or you're achieving, but I've seen those attributes of coming. You wanted to achieve, being track, your adversities in bullying and all that stuff. That sense of achieving it's still strong for you, and I think that's important for us as immigrants. We come to this country being told it's a land of opportunity. What's the opportunity to achieve something better from where you're coming from? So we can use that as a springboard for us to be leaders, influencers, to be wherever we want ourselves to be, by achieving, using that as springboard to be who we want to be. So more kudos to you, and
thank you.
And
awesome. Thank you, Huldah. For me, I am taking a couple of things. It's a process.
Yes.
It's a process. Your journey is a process. And it's not a destination. It's an everyday journey that you're taking. It took Mandela 20-something years in prison before he became the Mandela we know. Yeah. Look at Uncle Biden. How many times he had been in the Senate, tried to run until he finally got there over the hump. You can sit down and think of the Mahatma Gandhis who started from South Africa, and, all that they went through, the Martin Luthers, the years that they took. So any person who's aspiring to be a world changer, it's a moment by moment, day by day, and trust the process. Those immigration cases, that bullying stuff, all those now feature somewhere, somehow, in shaping who you are as a leader. So your test is your testimony.
I love that.
And your mess
is your message.
That one is a new one. This is your message. I love it. Oh, wow. When people call me a leader, I get uncomfortable a little bit. This is the amazing truth. So we're going to be honest. Because like you said, it's a process. It never ends. And I feel like I haven't arrived. I haven't arrived yet. And I feel like I'm still in the journey of discovering what that looks like. But for me, what I have learned over the years is that, especially for young people, the choices that you make at that age will impact you later on down the line. So I want to encourage you. He talked about how you market yourself, how you are marketable when you're looking for schools. That's how life is. Whatever you're doing right now, that's your resume. That is, you can't just wake up one day and say, okay, now I'm here. Now support me. I want to be a leader. It has to be something that you continue to build on, that you have worked on. And I have not arrived. And I don't think I'll ever arrive because of that mentality of like, I can do more. And when you have a passion of serving people, for me, it's humbling. I have gotten to the point where, a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, Huldah, you are with that person. In the back of my mind, I'm like, I'm just humbled at the fact that I am in this place where I can speak on behalf of somebody else who might not have that voice. Right. So for me, that has really humbled me. A lot of people, especially in our culture, in our community, it's all about those titles. It's all about when somebody walks up and, hey, Madam President, I'm just Huldah. Just call me Huldah. I'm just here to serve. And so I want to encourage the young people who might be thinking about, I don't know if I'm worth it. I don't know if I'm capable. I don't know if I'm... Never doubt yourself. Apply yourself and you'll be shocked at what you are capable of achieving. And when you apply yourself, there's doors that will open and windows that will be opened that you didn't even know that were possible. And my dad always tells us this, that when you put in hard work, even the cosmos conspires and really conspire for your favor. Right. So I want to inspire somebody to really tell him that put in the work, because at the end of the day, you will achieve only at the level at which the work that you've put into it. So the fact that I'm sitting here being called a leader is truly humbling. And it's still a journey.
Amen.
Thank you. Now, we are coming to the end of part one. We're getting to know who Huldah is.
Yep.
And, she's already spilling all this. Let me say this. It is intentional that we're starting on this series because the question is, it is 2022 January. What are your goals for this year?
Yes.
What are you planning to do?
Resolution.
And how are you going to accomplish them? We hope that at the end of this series, you will sit down and think about, if given life, what are you seeking to purpose this year? That has been our first episode in the year 2022. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Amazing Truth Podcast. We hope you were blessed as you listened. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. God bless you, and see you on the next one.